Thank you everyone for joining us today for our Sensory Integration Caregiver Workshop. This is the fourth event in our 5-part series. We're excited to get started. We have just opened up our translation channels, so you may now switch over and we'll get started shortly. As always, I would just like to thank Little Brave Ones, PTC, and Translate by Humans to help making this translation service possible. We're a community of rare disease, so just by the very nature, we're located all around the world. And since we're such a small community, it's always been very important to us at TeachRare to make sure that we have this accessibility, making sure that we're able to connect everyone together, regardless of our language, because we need each and every one to be able to connect together, and we can't let language be a barrier. As always, we have this format where we do a quick introduction. We go straight to the workshop because we know as parents of children with needs, our time is very limited. And then if you have time, stay for the Q&A. So if there was something that you had questions about, you could ask it directly to our guest or to TeachRare or to Little Brave Ones. If a question doesn't get answered, you can always email us or interact on our social media, and we're happy to get those answers for you. So our team that helps make this possible.
Hello, I am Judy.
Go for it, Judy.
Yeah, I'm Judy, and I am a special needs teacher by daytime, and in the evening time, I work for TeachRare. And we have a special daughter, Riley. She has AADC deficiency.
And my name is Richard Pullen, so I also work for TeachRare.
Pussy.
And during the day, I am a middle school principal. So Judy and I have used this to our advantage to help create TeachRare, but then also help our own daughter. And then Ivana, if you're available.
Yes, absolutely available. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this meeting. I just got back from another patient advocacy group meeting, and it's actually, I'm happy to see how many patient advocates are working, even on Sunday, even during night. So I believe that our effort for the community is very well received. So I'm looking forward to learning again in this meeting.
Thank you, Ivana. And Ivana is very busy and she motivates us. So thank you very much, Ivana. And before we bring in Annie, Miss Annie, I would just like to start with a quick story. So our daughter, Riley Ann, was born with AADC deficiency, which makes her have low dopamine and serotonin. She was always very anxious. We couldn't take her outside. The feeling of AC or seeing a new face resulted in her crying. We had tried sensory integration and we had some success with it, but really we wanted to concentrate on physical therapy, occupational therapy, because we thought, those are the most important things. But then we realized that this is so unfortunate, but that sometimes happens when you are dealing with online links. But again, let me just go back to this story where we had physical therapy and occupational therapy was our focus. So what we did was we would spend money to go to physical therapy and occupational therapy. And then Riley would cry and she would be very anxious, and we would have this spent money and we couldn't maximize what we needed. So then when we went back to sensory integration, we saw that we were able to benefit more with physical and occupational therapy because she wasn't so anxious. She was happy, she would cooperate, and then progress happened faster and more. And then also we had learning happen more. So we were very happy that we went back to sensory integration, and we talked to many people about sensory integration and we tell them about how important it is. And one of the things that comes up is they've never heard of it. They're kind of surprised about it. So we really wanted to bring on someone that had expertise with sensory integration. And that's why we have Miss Annie with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to her.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen right now.
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. Okay. Okay, so let's start with today's presentation. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. And thanks, Judy and Richard, inviting me to give this presentation. I'm Annie. I'm an occupational therapist in Taiwan. And today I'm going to share with you guys about how sensory integration works in children development. Okay, and this is today's agenda. I will try to explain how important the sensory integration system is via these three topics. First, what is sensory integration? And second, three primary system and home program suggestions. And third, how does SI affect children development? Why we want to help parents understanding like sensory integration. First, it is a primary system that highly related to children development, such as gross motor, fine motor, cognition, emotion, group participation. Okay, and the more mature that sensory integration system grow, the better these critical abilities develop. Okay, and second, some disruptive behaviors appear again and again because of sensory integration dysfunctioning or unbalancing between different sensory systems. Also, if we can see our children's behavior in a different light, try to analysis and show more empathy, which can definitely help with our parent-child relationship. Okay, so let me make a brief introduction of myself. I'm Annie, and I'm an occupational therapist, and I am the director and a co-founder of 2 clinics in Taipei. And also I'm a senior OT of school system for Department of Education of Taipei and New Taipei City. What I'm doing is I helped almost 50 schools each year, and from kindergarten to senior high, and we focus on the problems that parents and teachers face in school, such as attention, reading comprehension, writing coordination, and also social skills. And the final goal is to enhance children's participations and self-confidence in school and learning, which is a really common and important situation for them. Also, I work with some senior high publisher. I wrote the textbook related to pressure accommodation or how to enhance self-affirmation, which is the main issue for a teenager. Okay, apart from that, I also gave speeches to companies, government, and also schools in order to empower the caregivers. That's what I'm doing right now. So including parents, grandparents, teachers, and so on, and to help them understanding the physical and psychological aspects of the children. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the basic concept of sensory integration. And before that, can anyone share that what is sensory integration? Do anyone know or hear about SI before?
You want to try, Judy?
Actually, for me, I didn't know sensory integration. I knew occupational therapy, but I wasn't really sure about what sensory integration was. But when I first heard of it, I thought it was using all of our senses in our body, like what you see, taste, hear, touch, right?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for Judy. Okay, so this is the very first definition for SI by Dr. Jean Aris, the neurological process that organizes sensation from one's own body and from the environment and make it possible to use the body effectively with the environment. Okay, which contains of intake and process of different kinds of sensory. And she also emphasized that to give and react with effectively, motion is also important for individuals' everyday life. Okay, so to tell in plain English, what is sensory integration? Sensory integration is a term that describes the brain's ability to take in information from the senses, just like the Judy says that and we organize it and we respond to it. During experience of daily life, such as getting dressed, eating, moving around, socializing, learning, and working. Okay, but how does it work? It is an actively selective process, and we choose the sensory what matters more, neglect others at the same time, such as in the kindergarten's classroom. There are so many different stimulations. We have teachers talking, besides some classmates are clapping, laughing, playing, singing, and others are asking to go to the toilet. Can children choose to only focus on teachers? And maybe 2 to 3 their best friends and neglect other disruptive stimulations at the same time? Okay, in addition to choosing the important cues from the environment, how to react appropriately and functionally is also crucial. So let's go back to the classroom context. When children successfully get the instruction, such as everyone, when you hear the music, it means it's time to clean up. So when children hear the music, can they follow the instruction to put the toys away? All above and all above of input and output process, the prime time of sensory integration development is before the age of 7. So how can we guide and help children to develop these skills? That's today's topic. Let's move on to the next topic. Okay, so which is 3 primary system and home program suggestions. Okay, these are the most common 7 senses, including visual, audio, smell, taste, and also tactile, vestibular, proprioception, and some may hear of the 8 senses, which is interoception. But today we are gonna focus on these 3 primary sensation systems. Okay, so for most of us, the development of sensory integration occurs when we are young as part of our normal development. And in the things we do, such as rolling, crawling, walking, and in playing, the 3 primary sensory systems lay critical foundations for normal development, impacting on growth and fine motor, or development, speech and language production, social and emotional maturity, and behavior and learning. Okay, so if the development occurs as expected, children express happiness in themselves and the world around them. Also help a kid gonna gain skills like self-confidence and mastery of his or her body and their environment. After about 1 year old, visual and audio systems develop rapidly, and children start to exploring the world, comprehending the information with not only multiple but mature way. Okay. Okay, so if the process of sensory integration does not go well, no matter is lack of sensory input or exploration experience, such as sometimes due to main caregivers are too busy to spend time with their child, so the child stay in the crib a lot before 1 year old, which lead to lack of sensory input and motor exploration, even interacting experience, affect the development of various physical abilities, cognition, and even sense of attachment. And apart from lacking of above experience, giving children too much sensory input also be harmful to their brain, since their brain cannot take in and process all the sensory, their brain might shut down and temporarily stop response to the environment, or children might lose their temper due to overloading stimulations. So I will give you an example of overwhelming sensory input. Some children really don't like the feeling of water pouring through their face, right? So they may always lose their temper when taking a bath. And some parents or grandparents will choose to use a method called the floating therapy, and which is they pour a large quantity of water right on the child's face. And some may work, but the process always accompanied with some crazy emotions, but others might lead to worse consequence, such as the sense of fear when they see water, even it's just a small puddles on the road. Okay, so both Too little or too much sensory input to the children's brain might lead to some development issues. So how can we provide some like appropriate sensation stimulations at home? Okay, so especially how can kids enhance their sensory integration abilities while playing is the best way, since children always show great motivation to actively participate in the game, which contribute to better neural plasticity. Okay, so let's start with introducing what are these three primary sensory system. Okay, so let's start with the tactile system. What is tactile system? Our tactile system process information from the receptors in our skin, giving us a wide variety of touch sensations, and such as pressure, temperature, and pain. Apart from explore the environment to build fine motor, eye-hand coordination, strength control, and attachment to caregivers and physical environment. It also highly related to the learning performance of some like primary concepts such as shape, material, size, and so on. Okay, so does anyone knows that which part of body's tactile system develop first, or which part do children use the most to explore the world after they were born? No,
Their
like-
hands.
their hands. Did you say their hands? Is there any other answers?
Maybe mouth.
What?
Mouth.
Mouth. Yeah. Okay. Actually, it's the lips. We're the very first organ.
Close enough.
Yes. Yeah, it's almost the right answer. Okay, so when this is the very first organ that tactile system become mature. So that's why before like 6 months, they explore the toys, the other body parts, the environment with their mouth. And when you see they put their hands or other objects in their mouth, we can give them some positive responses, such as smile. Even the name of the objects encourage their motivation to explore new toys and context. And after 6 months of birth, children will start using their hands to explore. Also, the optic nerve become much more mature at this time. So the eye-hand coordination and some primary cognition start to grow, such as they can put the toys into the container or can feel the difference between the soft and hard. Okay, so why is tactile system so important? Because children with better tactile sensory, hold on a second. Okay. Children with better tactile sensory integration might have better fine motor dexterity, eye-hand coordination, and motor and strength control. So which might show better motor learning capacity and writing skills, tool operating skills, or like motor complexity. Okay, to enhance the tactile integration at home, we can provide children with various materials, operating and interacting experience, such as tactile balls or like little plastic cars, sponge blocks, or like the wood toys, and also stuffed toys. Okay, also we can take them to various contexts or environments, such as beach, meadow, or ball pool, swimming pool. And research shows that those with diverse environments exploring experience children show better motivation to explore new toys or a challenge after grow up, and those stay at home or a regular environment for most of the time. Okay, so here is a homework program that can interacting with your children at home. We can hiding the toys into the container full of rice, black bean, and sand potty, and we can encourage our children to find all the hidden toys out. And in this process, their hands are going through lots of tactile input, which will stimulate the palm and the fingers discrimination and dexterity performance. And maybe we can start with hiding the toys into like a bigger size or round shape items, such as black beans, sponge blocks, or snowflakes pieces. And then move on to a smaller size or irregular shape, or even a little sticky materials, such as rice, sand, or putty, in order to raise the intensity of the tactile input. Okay, and these are some other instructions to provide tactile input, such as how body contact with playing. Furthermore, tactile system also contains sensing of the pressure of skin, and it is an efficient way to calm them down after overexcited or displeased emotion by giving them deep pressure. Okay, and the tips are, we give the deep pressure from proximal part to distal part, which means from center of the body to outer part of the body, and in a slow tempo and a firm posture, which can directly calm the brain wave, which is also known as EEG, and to attain the result of chilling the kids out. Okay, so then we're going to move on to proprioceptive system. The proprioceptive system involves our awareness of our own body through things like our muscles and joints, which tell our brain where we are in space. Also, after we can aware of our body, then move on to the determine and organization the spatial relationships with our body and the world around us. Okay, so the children with better proprioception feedback, which means they can properly determine their body relationships with the environment and lead to better strength control. They can use proper strength to operate the task, such as aiming, writing, throwing the balls. Also, they may have better motor planning skills. They can plan their directions and their strength beforehand by recalling successful motor experiences in the past, which will definitely enhance their motor quality and motor success rate. Because children with better proprioception feedback show better concepts of body awareness, so they need less requirement of using visual cues to monitor the motion, and then they can have more attention to handle multiple motor, and therefore their motor complexity increase. Okay, so the first home program suggestions is action imitating game. And to imitating others' motor, we need to make quick responses, which need a better concept to determine our body's relationship to the environment. And we can start from an easy way. Like, for example, the motor is static and only once at a time. Also, we can play in a slower tempo, and so that children can have more time to decide where to put their body. Okay, so when the children are getting familiar with the game, or children are in the age about 3 to 4 years old, we can make the imitation a little harder, such as the motor is dynamic and has multiple motions at one time. Also, we can speed up when demonstrate the motor. Okay, but why we should adjust the difficulties of the game? Because we want to give them the just right challenge. This is the really like important concepts that I want to share with you guys today. When which means not so hard, but not so easy. They just need to try and put a little effort, and then can successfully conquer the challenge. And this concept can be used in so many files in our like daily lives, including playing, learning, doing the course, which are really useful to enhance children's self-efficiency, which means I can do it. Yeah. So that they will have more courage to face the new challenge or problems in their lives. So with those home program, I will show you the easy way and the harder way, and we can see the children's ability to adjust the difficulties. Okay, so the other game is bubble games. For those under the age of 3, we can start the game with only need to pop the bubbles, as many as they can, and they need to aim and measure the distance between them and bubbles. And then when we can upgrade the rule, such as giving them time limits. For example, let's pop 10 bubbles within 30 seconds. Or we can combine the game with some like motor instructions. For example, they need to jump up while popping the bubbles, or pop the bubbles with right hand, left hand, or both hand. And to combine multiple motor in the game can help the kids' brain integrate those sensation input and plan their body's movement to react, which can also contribute to sensory integration. Okay, so what are other instructions that can also enhance children's proprioception, such as the activities that need to explore different heights? For instance, like under the premise of safety, encourage your kids to climb the sofa, the mattress, and the stairs, since they need to predict the distance and height, and then plan the height their how the height their arm and legs need to lift up, and which will integrate the proprioceptive system. And also, we can encourage our child to play with the activities that need to aim or do gently, which is for the purpose of noticing and planning their strength before they show the motor. Okay, and since the proprioception system's reception are in the joints, so therefore giving the child some activities with weight-bearing posture will also stimulate the system, such as the posture, just like a high plank or a squat, animal walk, and so on. So we can combine those posture with games such as 1, 2, 3 freeze. Give all these postures an animal name, as we talked earlier, if we want children to participate. Enhancing the fun element into the game is the most important and the very first thing that we need to concern. Okay, so last but not least, the vestibular system. Our vestibular system process our movement and balance, which is highly connected to children's balance skill and motor coordination. So, okay, so the children with better vestibular integration might show not only better motor skills, but more stable emotion accommodation. Okay, the motor part related to vestibular system, including better weight shifting skills, and it is a really important ability while transfer between different posture, such as from sit to stand. We need vestibular systems to stable our bilateral limbs and body to prevent from falling. So it's also So it's also connect to better static and dynamic balance. When we can easily control our balance, the motor complexity increase. Even we can combine different posture within our activities, such as a volleyball. When we play volleyball, we need to rapidly transfer between different posture due to the height and direction of the ball coming. Also, our vestibular system has some connection with our muscle tone. The children with hyposensitive or hypersensitive vestibular process might show lower muscle tone, which might affect their attention or sustained participation performance. Okay, and based on our clinical experience and some research, the vestibular system will also affect the ability to accommodate our emotion. So if we can help children to integrate their vestibular system, their emotion might be more stable because of better accommodation ability. So so the children with better vestibular integration might show like not only the motor capacity, but also the stable emotion. Okay, so how to enhance children's vestibular integration? We need to provide various of motor experience, such as standing, walking around, climbing up and down, jumping, crawling, sitting on the swing, and so on. And these dynamic activities will directly stimulate the vestibular receptors, which is in our inner ears, and contribute to better vestibular integration. Okay, so dancing is also a great and fun way to stimulate our vestibular. And we can start with repetitive motions so that children can learn motor easily and keep up with the music. And also we can choose some music with slower rhymes. When children's coordination is getting better, we can increase the variety and complexity of the motions. And then we can pick some faster rhyme songs to raise the challenge. Okay, another game suggestion is called musical status, which is children do the movement while the music is playing. And we can give them some instruction of the motor, such as when they see the elephant card or hear the sounds of elephant, they need to do the motor that represent elephant. But when the music stop, they need to stop and hold and still. And the easy instruction of this game might be switch it between less movement or decrease the music play and stop transitioning frequency. On the other side, if you want to make the game harder, you can increase the amount of the animal they need to imitate or shorten the time gap between music and stop. Okay, and the other game suggestions is the hopscotch. The easy version can be the children only need to jump with both legs or switching between less movement. If you want to make the activities more challenging, we can add some cognition challenges, such as they can only jump on odd numbers or a specified number. And encourage children to do the thinking or combine some visual searching instruction with the motor can help with advanced and multiple cognition development, and it's the higher level of sensory integration. Okay, so let's move on to how. Okay, so I hope that everyone can get some useful information or activity ideas that is suitable or worth trying for your child from the second part. And the last part, I'm going to explain how does sensory integration affect children's development. Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, the senses lay critical foundations for normal development, impacting on growth and fine motor, or speech and language production, social and emotional maturity, and behavior and learning. So through the senses, children are able to make sense out of their physical bodies and out of their physical world, which leads to adaptive responses to the environment. So we can see the sensory integration as an important process of developing appropriate adaptive reaction. Okay, so let's see the relationship between sensory input and adaptive reaction. Okay, so each movement or activity rely on different sensory input, and we need to develop appropriate adaptive reaction to interact with the world and the environment. So after we make a lot of practice and try to gain many experiences, the maturation of adaptive reaction increase. So we can successfully respond to the task and environment, which activate the neuroplasticity, and then the sensory integration system getting mature. Okay, so it is a loop process. So let's start taking like learning how to ride a bike as an example. Okay, we need balance skills and motor coordination for learning how to ride a bike, right? So which highly related to the proprioception and vestibular system. And if we want to successfully ride on a bike, we need the weight shifting and also direction control skills. Okay, so after lots of practice and falling experience, our weight shifting and direction control skills enhance, and we can handle riding for like longer distance or advanced riding skills. And in the process of gaining those advanced experience, the neuroplasticity has been activated and our brain become more mature. And then so do our proprioception and vestibular system. So that's how we learn basically every skills. Is a loop like between the sensory input and the adaptive response. Like it's a loop, and when we grow our adaptive reaction, the sensory integration system grow and become more mature as well. Okay, so the maturation of sensory integration can help the ability to like operating ADL, such as eating, dressing, walking, sleeping, and so on. Also, the gross motor and fine motors development have highly relationships with SI system, which are really important to the learning performance of children's school. Okay, so furthermore, the sensory integration also help the interacting skills and participating motivation of kids if the SI system develop unbalanced or immature, which might lead to poor emotional accommodation. Okay, so eventually the final goal of sensory integration is to help children gain successful experience throughout their life, increasing their self-efficiency and problem-solving skills, also make better parent-child relationship. It's our choice of what role we want to be in children's development, but your company and understanding to the kids are definitely the most precious thing between you and your child. So that's why we want to like introduce the sensory integration to you guys, because we say before that some of the disruptive behavior is not because they want to do this, but is because they cannot like integrate the sensory input and they cannot process with a successful adaptive reaction to the environment. So it seems like the disruptive behavior like appears again and again. So when we can like show more empathy to and understanding to their behavior, the conflict between parents and child might decrease a lot, and the child might know that that I'm not on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. So they will like try to adjust their behavior or their or your expectation. Okay, so I think this is today's content, and thanks for everyone's times, and hope that you can grab some useful information from today's presentation. Okay, so is there any questions right now, or you can just send the email to Judy and Richard, and maybe I'll answer it and get back to you soon.
Yeah, Annie, that was great. That was fantastic. I was learning a lot, and I wrote down some questions that I had for you. But first, I just wanted to say that one of the things that reflecting on our entire series and just hearing you talk today, with our role as Teachware and as educators, we have been promoting play. We always talk about play and play with your children. And I know it's very important. I tell parents all the time it's important. But hearing you speak, it kind of gave me an idea that, because as I heard you talk, when we connect the development of the systems, the neuroplasticity that can occur, and we understand when educators or therapists are telling us to play with our children, we're able to connect it with why. And, when I tell a parent to go play with your child, they may just say, oh, it's just play, and dismiss it. But when I hear you give those examples and why peekaboo or head, shoulders, knees, and toes is very important to development, then parents, I think, would better understand. So just as myself, I think I would go back and how I communicate with the parents that I talk to and just giving those lessons. So I really appreciate those. One of the things you said was sensory integration should, or maybe it would be best if it occurred before the age of 7.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
It's because our brain developed like the brain maturation process before like 10, and the sensory integration mature like before 7. It's the brain development.
That's the time it happens. So after 7, is it just more difficult? It's not impossible, right?
And because the neuroplasticity's speed will slow down after the age of 7. So why we say the time of all the abilities, like the gross motor, the cognition, the attention, will be before the age of 6, because the neuroplasticity will grow so rapid before the age of 6.
Okay, great. And I've been very interested with this term neuroplasticity, and just for anyone that's listening and isn't too sure, maybe you can add on to what I think my definition is. Neuroplasticity is the mind. Previously, we thought of the mind as being very static and unchangeable, but neuroplasticity is saying that we can develop areas of the brain that maybe is limited, or other areas of the brain could compensate. Is that correct?
Actually, the neuroplasticity is talking about the neural sustain, the speed, the sustain transform. So when we talk about neuroplasticity, it means the way, the road that the neural transformers, like I have one road right now, but if I am doing the neuroplasticity, maybe I will have the second or the third way. So the speed will speed up. Yeah.
Right. So it could find it, just kind of keeping with the analogy of the road, it would find a way around, or like a detour. Is that correct?
Yeah. Or find a more efficient way.
More efficient way.
Yeah.
Right. Then that their brain currently maybe is limited.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great. And my second question was about you had talked about the rice, and I just know that it was very difficult for me to get my daughter to touch rice.
Yeah.
And you said to start with beans first. Is that because rice is a higher sensory?
Sharp,
Oh.
and also it's a little small. So when they touch like the sand, like so many like children with hypersensitive of tactile system, they refuse to touch the sand. Yeah, but when we start with the stone, they will accept it, and they after they play with stone and we add a little sand inside, and they can accept it. So maybe we can start with the black bean, because it's more like round, and it's bigger, and it's won't get so intense like tactile sensitive sensation to their hand. So maybe you can start with the black bean, and then we can add a little rice inside and encourage her to like put her hand inside. It's a gradually process.
Smart. I mean, when I knew Riley had sensory processing issues, I was like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to expose her to sand. We're going to go, because those are the things you see in the classroom.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously she's hypersensitive, so she would not like it at all. And we didn't make progress in it. And now in hindsight, I could see us gradually working towards sand.
Yeah.
Would have been better. That's interesting. And my last question is, I hear a lot about crossing the midline.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that. Is that something that we should try to put into our play?
Because crossing the midline means the interaction between our left and right brain. So when we talk about sensory integration, actually it means we need to integrate our whole brain. And so that's why we are encouraged to setting some activities or to design some game that will let the children to like cross the middle line and to enhance the both brain to coordination or cooperate.
Great. Yeah. And, you know, again, it's just everything's hindsight for me now that I can think back. And I just, we were educators. We learned many of these things, but how we applied it to the rare disease is very different. So it's good to hear all of this again.
I think that for the rare disease, because it is not with like ASD or ADHD, we know their symptoms, so we can setting or design the activities before I saw this children. But for the rare disease, they're like an individual difference. They are like more than the other ASD or ADHD disease. So I think we can start with the game that is fun, and the main purpose is to encourage them to participate, and then we level up in the challenge or the difficulties of our activities, and they can maybe they can progress like gradually, but they can access and accept the challenge that we give them.
Great. And Judy, you raised your hand. Did you have something?
I was just gonna ask some questions. So in our rare disease community group, we have children that are not able to, to move as much.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not able to maybe jump or run or crawl now.
Yeah.
What are some of the home activities that they can do to build their sensory, I guess?
I think we can use some like toys with various materials, and we can interact with them. And maybe we can just when the parents are playing with them, we can just encourage them to explore like different heights. Maybe some we raise a little or more, or we can cross the line. Maybe we can follow their abilities to play with them, and to give them the sensory and to give them the various sensory. Yeah.
So like, do you mean like just if they can't walk, we just carry them and go down the slides, or if they can't do the swing, carry them on our laps and swing with them? Will that help?
Yeah, it might, but because their input, their sensory input are much more less than other child. So I'm not sure that if we just take them to the slide, will they feel like fear, or they can accept it. So maybe we can just like roll them a little, like we roll, or we just lift up, or like some small movement. If they can take it, we just move gradually, and then we can maybe take them to the slide, or hug them, and we sit on a swing, and we just like swing in the like little just like slides to swing. Yeah.
Ivana, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Richard. I loved the presentation. Thank you. And I also loved the examples of the play with children and different levels, how it can be an easy one and how it can gradually be more difficult. And I was wondering if I would be able to do some of the most difficult levels. However, my question would be towards the age of children, and maybe some examples of practice that will involve sensory integration for children above 10. So, I understood, I hear that you mentioned the some time frame when is most important, but I believe that it is still important to do this after 7th year of life of our children. So what could be the best examples when they are older, like 10, 11, 13, that they're not too much into balloons at that time, but do you have some examples that we can continue doing best sensory integration for our children?
Sometimes in when I was in consulting sessions in school, I contact with like grade 4 to grade 11 or 12. So I will ask what are their PE class playing right now. So maybe for the children over 10 or over like 8, I will ask how they participate in their PE class, or what is their classmates do when they're just off class. Maybe they play the ball, they jump rope, and they play basketball, or they go like running. And so maybe I will use this kind of like ball games or just some jumping ropes task to encourage them to integrate their sensory. So I will ask what is their PE class do right now, or what is his interested in the exercise, and then we can use this exercise to enhance his sensory integration. And we can still grading the exercise. We can start with the easy level, and then we can move on to harder one.
Thanks. If I can continue to that one, for example, you mentioned basketball. So it includes many children on the playground, and sometimes our children are not really easy on being a part of that huge team. Is there something that we can do the same game but in smaller teams, or what would you suggest?
Actually, after I know what maybe they are playing basketball right now, but I won't put him just into the playground with others. So maybe we can do 1-to-1 to like enhance his throwing skills, or his catching skills. When he can like do he can successfully catch the ball, and then we can put him into like maybe 2 to 3 like little groups, and maybe like do the groups catching, or groups like ball games, and then gradually move to the like bigger size of the group.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're getting close to the end, and I just wanted to, before we sign off, just again, thank you, Annie, for participating and giving us so much information. We have our final caregiver series next month, and we'll send out the invitations, and then also a little bit more information about what we have planned for the summer. We have I'll share my screen real quick. We have 2 locations that we're currently planning, and maybe we'll have a third. But sorry, go back. So we have a location in Boston that we're working on in the beginning of July, and then a location in Taipei towards the end of July. And we're still working on the exact dates, but we'll supply all of that information via email and along with our next session. So that's my cuckoo clock. And without further ado, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for participating.
Thank you, Annie. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day.
See you.
Good night, or good morning for those on the other side.